Hey everyone, this is Ben from T3 bringing you another match from the top 8 game regional championship in Game Castle a couple weeks ago. On the left we have Jon D playing Noise, and on the right we have Noah playing Palana, and I have with us a special guest commentator, Gerry.
Hi, guys.
So Gerry, you were also playing at this tournament, and you were doing very, very well from what I can recall. Did you play either of these guys throughout the day?
I did. I played against Jon in the top 8 as well, and I played against Noah in the Swiss.
Awesome. So you know what to expect out of these decks.
A little bit. I didn't play. I didn't play against Jon's runner, but Jon's local. I've played against him many times, so it is Noise. So there's not usually huge surprises.
True, true. But this pawn in the deck is the opposite. It's kind of still untested. I feel like there's a lot of stuff kind of going on. Some people just play it as more of like an ETF, like ETF out of Jinteki. Some people try and do some trickery. So I'm super curious to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, me too.
And Noise is, I'm sure, going to be up to his usual antics, hoping for some lucky accesses and then just pressuring everything like Anarchs tend to like.
Yep.
And there was a strong Anarch presence at this tournament. I know there's been some games up as well with Max and things like that, and Noise in the top 8. So they definitely have the strongest card pool, but this Palana is not afraid to just open it up, getting some ice, try and get themselves protected for Noise's nonsense.
Yep. And so we're seeing Jon starting out with early Inject. That's getting him Wildside, Grimoire, losing a cache and a Lamprey, which hurts a little bit, but that turn 1 Wildside is always huge for Noise in just being set up immediately.
Yeah, any Anarch, if you can get those wild cakes going quick, it is a much more difficult game on the Corp side.
Yeah, and that's why I think we've been seeing a lot of people making use of Inject in Noise to really get that early setup right away. Jon getting another cache that he had in his opening handout, so this is a great opening for him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of acceleration so far, and those Deja Vus are going to be... I'm sure he's going to get a lot of use out of those later, too, with the Parasites and stuff. I'm actually kind of expecting him to start trying to put pressure, maybe see where or what kind of ice this Palana has, because I haven't seen anything standard yet.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Grail Palana. I've seen some people who go Eli, Ichi, Architect. Not always Architect. Eli, Ichi, Assassin. Excuse me. And you have to be ready for either of those, and ready for all the usual Jinteki ice that could be somewhat dangerous. Cortex Lock, Swordsman, as well as just Lotus Field. That's not dangerous, but obnoxious for an Anarch player to get through.
Yeah, for sure. Just under that David strength, that's kind of more difficult for him nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, for Jon, you can expect that he's going to be probably using Faust to break Lotus Field, so that's 2 cards every time. He doesn't likely have Spoon, so it's not going away.
No, but Jon is pretty much set up. I think the only thing here he's missing now is the adjusted Chronotype to save that click, but he has some caches out, some Aesop's, Grimoire, and Wildside. There's a lot of acceleration, and it's going to make those viruses really dangerous. Parasites especially, I feel like. And Palana, I don't know if you can tell, but in his hand I'm seeing a lot of neutral stuff. I've seen a couple Wall of Statics, or at least one, and an Enigma as well. So not much, not very complex ice, we'll say, but all solid ETR.
Yes. Yeah, it's... Wall of Static, I think, is a piece of ice that has come back in a big way in the kind of Faust-heavy metagame that we're in right now. It's pretty reliably taxing a Faust player 2 cards, or in some cases a data sucker to card, but you can't always rely on getting easy data suckers anymore. So it's at that 3 strength that's so important. Jon's got an Archives interface, it looks like, which you expect is kind of intended as a hate card for the Industrial Genomics deck that has just surged into popularity with the release of bioethics in the most recent pack, but I know from talking to Jon that he also feels the Archives interface could do work for noise in a lot of other matchups against people with CVS, taking that out of Archives and letting you farm data suckers a lot more effectively.
Oh, that's a really good point. I didn't ever think about using it in conjunction to, just try and make your viruses easier, especially in noise where he wants those data suckers and can really use the archives accesses to his advantage too.
Yeah, and I speaking as somebody who's been playing Hospirite a lot recently, I could also say I really rely on archive memories, and certainly when the archives interface hits the table, there's the danger that they're going to get rid of my Caprice, get rid of my Jacksons, get rid of my Cyberdex Virus Suites. It's very concerning. I don't. It may be that the Archives interface of that matchup is a little bit win more, and they don't really need it. But we're seeing Noah install something in that double-iced remote. Maybe looking to set up. You don't usually worry about an agenda when there's a non-advanced card from Jinteki. Most of the stuff that you're concerned about is Nisei Mark II or Global Food, Future Perfect, something like that. So expect that's probably an upgrade.
So I think Jon here is going to start taking advantage or trying to start pressure remotes, or at least I feel like that's what Noah is trying to do here, is see what Jon wants to do, try and figure out a game plan a little bit. I mean, you mentioned the naked asset or naked unadvanced card. It kind of leaves that mystery, so it makes Jon make a move. I think it puts the ball in his court here.
A little bit. I think it being Jinteki, you're not worried that he's going to sneak out an agenda here, because this is likely some kind of Glacier deck, and so is probably running Nisei Mark II, Corporate Sales Team, Future Perfect, something like that. So Noah's not threatening an agenda here, and Jon may or may not be ready to deal with any kind of big ice, and he may not want to make a run at the server just to try and deal with an upgrade. I think before he hit that pup, he had 3 credits, so not in a great position to play Psy games either.
No, but the pup doesn't really protect against the Siphon either. And I know earlier in the Store Champ season, at least, Jon was big into Siphon noise. So if that's still the case in this regional, then that pup is going to be a big liability for Noah later in the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jon has moved off Siphon noise. We've got Cash, we've got Pawn Shop. I think he's gone to the kind of traditional noise economy at this point. But nevertheless, we've got a Lamprey in Jon's heap. Deja Vu could bring that back into play. Parasite could take care of that pup really quick, and then we could be looking at good HQ pressure that way. Noah has installed and advanced something in the remote, so now that's when Jon would really like to respond to that. He's in an awkward spot. He'd like to be able to pawn something so that he can play Psy games, but the 3 data suckers he's got are actually pretty valuable right now. If he had removed a CVS at this point, I would be thinking about potting the Archives interface. But he may just let Noah have this. I guess Noah's only got 10 credits, so it may be worth making a check to see if he can get him to res some ice here.
Yeah, and Jon can, I think, at least adequately pressure the remote enough so Noah doesn't have enough money to either res the Caprice or score the agenda. And I feel like Noah's going to opt for the Caprice res before the 2 pieces of ice.
Sure.
That seems to make more sense. But Jon's taking some time here trying to figure out what the best plan of attack is. I think he's also trying to figure out... I think Jon has a Lamprey in his hand, so... He seems to also be considering some HQ pressure.
Yeah, So we're seeing Deja Vu for what looks like Cash.
2 caches.
Yeah.
Getting some money.
This was a very awkward turn. As click for a credit, Deja Vu. Click for another credit, play Cash.
I don't even think he's getting the second cache.
Oh no, he doesn't have Chronotype. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because
of the wild side. Yep.
This was an extremely awkward turn for Jon.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough for him there, but Noah's looks like advancing something Oh,
Yeah,
and the corporate sales team. That's a cool one.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I didn't
Corporate
see,
sales team, I think, is a popular choice in the Palana Foods decks of late, along with, of course, Mark II and Future Perfect and Global Food. Um,
uh, just to kind of establish that drip a little bit harder and give them more money in the long game, or why have you seen that?
I can't say exactly why I've seen it, uh, but I mean, I think Noah is the person, the Palana deck I've played against the most recently, in fact. Um, but yeah, I think that they want to have money, and it's a great agenda to make money with. Um, I mean, the question may be what else could it be were it not that? Uh, and I think you'd be looking at NAPD, which costs influence now, or something else. I mean, corporate sales team is a great 4-2 agenda. Uh, so we saw Jon kill the Eli over R&D, trash a Caprice out of archives. That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a huge play there for John. And well, no, you're Caprice or you're Jinteki, so you still assume the upgrade in the remote's Caprice, but a little bit better. And would you actually play corporate sales team over something like Brain Trust, even though corporate sales team's the 4-2?
I would for sure. I think there's no question that 10 credits over the next 5 turns is well worth it. A Brain Trust or Philotic Entanglement or something like that can get you a little bit of an advantage in that you can sometimes sneak out 2 points by fooling an opponent who thinks that you're running the more difficult agendas, the Nisei Mark IIs, the Future Perfect, and just doesn't bother running anything you haven't advanced. But for players like this who are hoping to make it into the top 8, you don't expect to get away with a trick like that more than once or twice. Yeah, I think if Noah had gone through 5 rounds of Swiss with a weird all Brain Trust deck, there's a good chance Jon would have heard about it, played a little differently, and at the end of the day, the advantage of those 10 credits is just so big.
Interesting. See, I would have thought that not needing to install Advance would be pretty major, but Jon getting the Nisei out of archives is not what Noah wanted, especially at this point in the game. I'm sure Noah would have much rather had the Nisei over the sales team.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one important thing here is that was just an Enigma on archives. I'm sure Noah would have preferred to have a crick or something like that there. And I'm sure Jon was ready for a crick, but at the same time, like whether he was ready for it or not, he ended up not having to break one. So he got into archives very relatively easily compared to what he might have been expecting to have to do, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. It allows Jon to keep a lot more tempo moving through the rest of his turns here. He still hasn't seen a Liberated, which really has to be hurting his game, I think, especially after it's been this long. I think he's through half of his deck already.
Chronotype, you mean?
Or, yeah, Chronotype.
Yeah. Being around 3 clicks is not great. I mean, for what it's worth, Noise can weather that better than anyone. Noise is really the only identity or archetype or what have you that ever played Wildside before Chronotype entered the game. So, and just the power of that pawn shop economy and those constant mills gets you very far, even on the 3-click turn. But I'm sure Jon would love to have a 4th.
Oh, definitely. And the CVS purge, getting rid of those imp counters, saving some data sucker counters. Here, interesting. It seems like this is a very typical Glacier build out of Palana. I mean, like, we've been seeing the wall statics and Enigmas and Eli's especially are interesting includes. But Jinteki's still kind of relying on, being Jinteki and just kind of have those taxing, kind of scary, kind of annoying ice over HQ and pups. Because, I mean, like, really one of the big benefits here is that Noah can just put a pup or two in front of HQ, right, and then threaten the snare out of hand. So it gives him a little bit more flexibility in terms of like where he actually installs the ice, I think.
Perhaps. I think. I mean, I can't speak for what Jon is thinking about, but personally, when I go against a Palana player, I mean, to some extent, you can't know exactly what to expect, but snare is not a huge concern that I would have at the moment. I think the big thing you get with this identity is sort of ETF style, just bonkers economy ability and the ability to run 3 Caprice in your deck, and that's that along with the kind of good powerhouse ice that we've always had in the game. Eli, Pup, we know from the heyday of Replicating Perfection, is quite taxing for its cost. All that stuff, even if it's not a huge face check penalty, can just give you
it wears you down for sure.
Exactly.
Like, as the game gets later and later, it wears you down more and more.
Yeah, so we're seeing a Lamprey come out. Jon maybe looking to parasite that pup and try and apply some HQ pressure. The Chronotype finally comes down.
Finally coming up. And Jon's actually like really applying pressure evenly here. We got a little bit of ice over the remote, a little bit of ice over HQ, and some ice over archives, leaving R&D alone. I'm not sure if he's trying to make a keyhole play, or like that would seem really weird on a noise to me, but I don't know. I guess usually you see Anarchs pressuring everything a little bit more. It's just odd to have Jon. Oh, but getting rid of the cyber decks there. Exactly what you were saying earlier, Gerry.
Yeah. I think the reason that he may be ignoring R&D here rather is he doesn't have a medium or anything like that. Maybe he wants to give himself the possibility that if he ever does get an econ advantage, he can get in there more cheaply without letting this ice get res now. But I would sort of doubt that. I'm sure he's not going to have a keyhole or anything like that. But probably just wants to pressure if you pressure HQ and you pressure archives in the form of the mills and the data suckers, then eventually the agendas are going to end up in HQ, or they're going to get Jackson back into R&D, and as the game goes longer, you can be more and more certain that you're going to find them.
Yeah, just the noise mills makes them pop up in strange places sometimes. But Noah holding a global food, I've noticed, in his hand as well. So
yeah, he's got a global food, a future perfect, I believe. We see Marcus Batty there.
I saw the future perfect earlier, and there's no face up, so it's probably still there. But I think there's another Eli over the remote.
That's
too,
right.
So it's
a little bit. It's a bit of glare, but yeah, he's got Eli. He's gonna get through that one so that he could data sucker Parasite, kill the other one, and get a chance to play a side game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the wall of static.
Static.
Bunch of attacks.
So
well, Jon has the cards, I guess, so it's not that big of a deal, but I'm also noticing this Palana build doesn't even have any ice over 5 strength.
He has assassin. Jon removed an assassin from the game with the archives interface very early on. I think you can see it up there under the sales team.
Mm-hmm.
But that may be the only one. I don't recall seeing any other high strength ice.
It's just so hard nowadays to find ice that will actually like stop a runner. Oh, and the Batty.
Yeah.
Did you not?
The double side game. Jon.
Oh, Jon hit the Batty or hit the Caprice.
Jon did hit the Caprice. I thought that was a lost Caprice game, but I guess not.
I think it was, right?
I'm sure they played it correctly there. Yeah, Jon must have. They must have both bid too.
That's huge, though. Clearing.
Yeah,
out that
so
server,
I mean, this shows what I was saying. Noah's down to just 3 credits now, so suddenly that R&D pressure.
Get the medium and.
But he's got a celebrity gift, I think, so we can expect him to perhaps bounce back pretty quickly from this. It depends a lot on what that HQ ice is. If that HQ ice is something taxing enough that he can afford to reveal a Future Perfect and a Global Food that are in his hand, then I think we should expect him to gift here.
Taken quite some time though. I think.
Well, it's a rough spot.
Oh, but installing the ice and gaining 2? Why did he gain? I think that was a misplay, unless he really is afraid of whatever's in front of HQ. I mean, I feel like you celebrity gift there and then install the ice.
From Jon's perspective, not knowing that the gift is there, it doesn't reveal too much, and from our perspective, we have to assume that outer ice on HQ must not be something strong. If it's a second pup, then Noah really doesn't want to show a hand with 2 agendas in it when Jon could easily parasite a pup, install a Lamprey, and get back in and both be getting accesses and draining the gift money away immediately. So it is surprising to me that Noah's opting to build the remote up even more, but I guess at the same time, it's only 2 clicks and 2 cards to get through the Eli wall of static. He's already lost, I think, 2 Caprice. We saw him lost 1 on a Central earlier. He's lost a Baddie. And he's going to be relying on those defensive upgrades to score anything else, and he doesn't have any Nisei counters yet.
And 2 Jacksons down, so
yeah,
not a lot left.
Yeah, and I don't recall for certain, but I think that one of those Jacksons may have been removed by the archives interface as well, not actually getting Noah any value for that.
Oh wow, okay, I missed that. That interface is doing a lot of work here, and a lot of people pan that. Oh, this is great here. I see a baddie, a couple baddies, and 2 Caprices as well, and Jon's hitting another Caprice. So
yeah, so that's a Caprice removed from the game. I mean, I don't know if Noah has Crick in this deck or not, but there's the snare. So you were right about that. Yeah.
Well,
so
I think the reason that Noah's gifting here is because he just drew the snare.
Yeah.
I think that was his top deck. So now his HQ has a little bit more protection.
Yeah, the presence of the snare there is a big deal. That's
a big deterrent, I think, especially if there's just a bunch of pups, because then there's no way Jon can afford the net damage. If he wanted to go that way, because he's pretty poor right now. I mean, like, he's not gonna pawn the imp, or he's not gonna pawn the sucker right now. The sucker's pretty huge to help him get into the remote, and he's not gonna pawn the HQ interface. So Jon's kind of poor. So the idea of him getting into HQ a bunch is pretty low too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we would expect that's the baddie that's just gone down to the remote.
Do you like playing a baddie in a deck like this that just focuses on so many hard end the runs? I mean, like, to me, the baddie's biggest strength is he can fire like trash programs and net damage and help set up kills and stuff like that. It seems almost a little wasteful, for him to be like a one-shot Caprice.
Well, I mean, Noah does have assassins in the deck, and those can certainly do some work with baddie, and I think it's. I don't know if I would personally go for 3 Caprice 3 baddie in a deck like this, but at the same time, I lost a game to Noah when I made it to the bottom of his remote, won the Caprice side. Oh, we're seeing Ichi here too. So baddie with Ichi, that's
much better. That's super good, actually. Yeah. That just made the baddie include make way more sense.
Yeah, what I was saying, I've lost I lost my game to Noah in the Swiss after getting to the bottom of the remote, losing the Caprice or winning the Caprice side game, and then losing the baddie side game. Being able to play 2 side games to defend your remote is really huge, and certainly even just 3 more copies of Caprice, even if they're less effective than regular Caprice, not to be understated. That's a very valuable thing. John had to use some data suckers here, but he is going to be able to get through this Ichi without too much pain, I think, off the strength of that. He's looks to be deciding what he can afford to discard right now.
Yeah, he already lowered its strength, but I
Yeah.
think John's gonna jack out here. Or he's gonna rock it. I would have thought that would throw him off enough, but I guess because if that had been another Ichi in front of the first Ichi, I think John's or he pitches all of his.
Yeah,
cards, right?
he loses his hand. I don't think that he's playing Levy. If he absolutely has to, he can break another Ichi and then jack out to save himself from a potential snare. But as it is, it's just wall of static. I think as Johnny, I would expect he'll pay 2 cards to get the access in the data sucker counter. But no, he's going to bounce and go for HQ. And yeah, there it is.
Just another pup.
Yeah, so Noah's opting to put the pups on HQ. I mean, certainly he knows that there's a Lamprey threat from Noise. So in some sense, there's maybe a choice to have them act as a little bit of a parasite magnet. If he feels that he can afford to let HQ get soft as long as he's not losing the rest of his ice on his remote and on R&D, by just expecting that the parasites are going to get used on Lamprey or on Pup if John wants to go that route.
Yeah, but he's applying just the right amount of pressure here. We're starting to see agendas build up in Noah's hands. I think that's 2 future perfects and a food now, so it's getting a little bit worse. And again, actually, that archives interface has just done work for John, getting rid of those, or at least the Jackson and a Caprice. Just those 2 alone is huge. So it's really forcing Noah to change how he's playing his deck.
Perhaps. I think it's. I mean, it's very tempting to see the archives interface and say that. It's hard to know for sure. It's not as though Noah has much recursion in his deck. Probably it's probably just the Jacksons really. So, right. I mean, so far the Caprice being gone, we can't say that that's totally irrelevant. It might have just been the same if it had been sitting in the trash. Losing the CVS though is potentially a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, so far it's just been these caches, and which obviously nothing bad's gonna happen to those, but the data suckers and the imps. And Noah did purge one of the imps, but he doesn't really have a lot to trash, and I'm not sure how many ice he's running, but right now he's got enough up. But if the imps could have gotten work done trashing the ice, that would make his deck a lot more porous. But we still have more Ichis. I see another Ichi in his hand too, which is an interesting include.
Yeah.
Very glacially. I haven't seen a lot of Palana. I really haven't played too much of it either. So I'm really interested in the ice selection and just generally how it's being played. But it's very much like an ETF deck up to this point.
Yeah, I think. So we saw Noah advance a card that had been in the remote a turn earlier, pulling a sort of Dave Hoyland maneuver to get one of those agendas just out of HQ and then hope to try and score it on a future turn. And now with 3 ice on that remote and an upgrade there, it may be hard for John to contest that. Although Noah doesn't have a huge amount of money, so if that's a Caprice, you're looking at 2 to res, 2 more to play side games. There's not enough there to res the outermost piece of ice and still be able to advance anything. So John may look to contest this.
And it is the downside here, though, is it's pretty taxing on cards. And John doesn't have a full hand, or he does have a full hand, but not an overdrawn hand with Wild Side. So, like, the Eli and the wall is static unless John, because he has no sucker tokens, unless John plans on clicking through the Eli. That's like 5 cards just to get through the wall of static and the Eli.
Yeah, I mean, I would if he's gonna go for it, I would expect him to click through the Eli here. It's two clicks to save 3 cards, I think you take that deal. But it's just a question of that outermost ice.
Oh, the Corroder is going to be... That's the perfect time to see that. That makes this server much less secure.
Yeah, although, I mean, if Jon wants to... Swordsman.
Swordsman's good.
All right, so...
There goes Faust.
Yeah, so that was a good call on Jon's part to get the Corroder down. He's safe from the net damage, and he can still get into the server if he likes. Although, once he breaks all that ice, he can't actually win a side game if Noah wants to keep him out.
Well, Jon could still click through the Eli. I think he still has the 2 clicks available.
That's true.
Click, and then 2 for the wall of static. Yep, that's what we're going to see here.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think that's the best bet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Batty, that's going to be a cheaper option for Noah.
Makes it... That's why I think Noah put the Swordsman in front. If he could... Oh, he got it.
I said 2. I said no.
Because if Noah could blow up the or blow up the Faust, that he thought that secured the server. Jon playing the Corroder was a really good heads-up play. But either way, getting rid of the Faust is super worth it.
Yeah. I mean, the Batty doesn't do too much to help him get rid of the Faust in this situation, unless Jon goes for a Mimic before running there. But the Corroder is doing some good. Noah's hand is getting a little bit full. He's still pretty broke. But we're seeing him just take credits and.
Interesting.
Just killing all that ice with the Corroder gone. I don't know about this. Keeping.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, the wall of static. I think that makes a lot of sense. Eli. Eli is classically
really
known for being taxing to
ice.
Corroder. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But at the same time, I think he wants to get the ice out of his hand. He doesn't want to get even poorer while he does so, because he is already having to discard something. He wants to try and set up the remote to be able to threaten to score at any point in this game. And I mean, one thing you were saying earlier that the Palana is similar to ETF. I think that's not totally right. I think Palana would really like to win its games a lot faster than ETF, because without those that campaign economy, you don't have the ability to survive into the late game as much. But you can go fast off of the strength of chaining Niseis and drawing Caprice a lot more quickly with the 3 copies you have in your deck. So this is an uphill battle for Noah for sure, with the game having gone on this long with only 1 agenda scored.
And I think kind of noise makes that matchup much more difficult, because he's already kind of forcing you to look at a longer game, or at least you have to compromise part of your game plan just to counter, in his ability. It's not even something Jon has to play into to really have a major effect in how you play.
That's exactly right. The longer the game goes, the better Noise is doing. He's got just an incredible late game, because he's milling your agendas, or if he's not, he's milling everything else, and all that's left is agendas, and then those are both good situations for the runner.
Yeah, and right now they are all in Noah's hand. I think this is one of 3. There would look like the Future Perfect, a Food, and a Nisei, and his deck isn't doing too hot either. So he must be feeling the pressure. The sales team ran out a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to try and score the Nisei off of without any upgrades whatsoever. I'm very curious. I guess that the outermost ice must be a Lotus Field or something. I think that's about the only thing that would make sense to me, because that's what Jon can't break and what he can't ignore, because he can ignore Swordsman if he wants to go through it. If again, I keep mentioning Assassin. We haven't seen it yet this game, but Assassin would be pretty irrelevant here, and Jon's still got the Corroder, so any destroyer that Noah might have is pretty unimportant.
I don't think it's Destroyer in front of.
No, I don't think it would be. So
putting out the David, but that's not going to save him if it is a Lotus Field.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's a Lotus Field, Noah also can't. No, he can't score this turn. So
unless Jon draws.
Oh, Jon's already drawn.
No, he didn't. That's why he did it. That was such a good play. Jon pawned off the wild side at the start of his turn.
Oh,
so
man.
Jon didn't draw, so Palana didn't get the money. So I think this is just a really, really solid play. Jon ran he pawned wild side, so Palana didn't get the card, assuming that was a Lotus Field in front of the remote, and then he ran the Lotus Field and Palana doesn't have the money anymore.
That's right.
That was a great play. Yeah, just trying to see more cards, put a little bit more pressure on stuff in a future perfect side game. That's not what Noah wanted to see here. Pretty much the last thing, I think. I mean, and it pretty much guarantees that Nisei is out for at least another turn.
Yeah, I mean, Jon has to find another Faust and find some money to be able to threaten that Nisei, but with Noah dead broke like this, he's going to be hard pressed to score it, or to score anything else once he does score it.
And the obvious thing here, Jon has to be thinking HQ. He knows there's at least one future perfect there, and the agendas aren't anywhere else. I mean, he's checked R&D fairly frequently throughout the game, checked archives fairly frequently. He just hasn't gotten a lot of accesses from the hand.
Yeah, I think at the same time, if he doesn't have any parasites left, I haven't been keeping track of how many he's used, but you're looking at 4 credits or 4 damage or 2 parasites to get into HQ, whereas with the Data Sucker, it's a single credit to see a card on R&D and just maintain Data Sucker parity. So we're gonna be looking for that. I think if Noah does go to score the Nisei next turn, then that'll put him at just a single credit left, and then that's where Jon can really start to hit HQ, because Noah won't have enough money to even make every viable side bid.
And the snare would be offline too, so that's something Jon has to consider right now with 2 pups and 4 credits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we saw 2 Fausts in the discard pile, so I think that actually is probably all this noise deck runs. I don't know if you see 3 here. But we do see Noah get that Nisei out.
Yeah.
Pretty important. The downside here is that Noah just doesn't have the money. If he could get another Caprice or a Baddie in that remote, and even 7 credits or so, that becomes a much more difficult agenda to score. Oh, and there's the Nisei, and there's one more. So there's all the Niseis, but Jon's on game point now. So
yeah,
that's a big issue.
Yeah, and I mean, before that Nisei, Jon could have won with a future perfect, but now he just needs to touch anything. I think Noah would really love to have a celebrity gift or something right now, along with another credit or 2, so he could actually play it. But
celebrity gift's not going to help at all right now.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be very tough, but
going down for Nisei, I feel like Noah pushed that out a little bit. I think he's afraid of a 3rd Faust. I don't even know if Noah's been paying attention to Jon's archives here, but if you go through the discard pile, if you go through the heap and you see 2 Fausts, I think you can slow roll it. I don't know. I feel like you can install and at least have a protected server for the moment.
I mean, maybe so, but at the same time, the agendas are piling up at HQ, and even before before that, Jon was threatening to win off of any future perfect access, which is a really dicey position to be in as the corp, where there's he's got 2 or 3 cards in his hand that he's a side game away from just losing the game outright. He'd really love to get the Nisei counter and then just get moving, get out of this game as fast as he can, and try and get that last agenda down and scored. So now he would be in a position to gift if he had a gift. He doesn't.
Jon's switching up the strategy. Jon's going for the mill. I think he might have just got it. Oh, he's gonna. Okay, Jackson to the rescue.
Yeah, entrance for Jackson.
Gain a buck. I think gain a buck is your best move here. If because next turn then he can install. Noah could install advance the future perfect. Jon couldn't come in and get it with the Faust, right? Because Faust breaks through Lotus Field, dies to Swordsman. Noah Nisei's. Jon can't get back through again.
Yeah.
I think this is what Noah's trying to get, as long as he has the cards, and it's going to come down to the wire here. This is a really, really tight game on his side. He has to get 3 cards that can't be trashed to even have a shot here, especially with noise and the mills that could come.
Yeah, and so what that means, he's left a future perfect in archives. So if Jon can go for that, he can certainly close this game out that way. There's 2 cards left. If Jon can install 2 viruses, then he's got it that way as well.
Yeah, I think that was time, actually, because Noah didn't even really gain credits or go for the install. And yep, there's a handshake. So on to time, down to the last couple turns there. Noah was in a really, really tight spot, though. But Jon's pressure was really able to suppress kind of Jinteki a little bit.
Yeah.
But really, really good play. There was a few things there that Jon was able to do to take advantage of, predicting the Lotus Field. I think was a really, really big play on his side, delaying the Nisei score an additional turn.
Yeah, I think so too.
So Jon, I believe, advances and moves Noah down to the losers bracket. And we have more games coming up from this regional coming up very soon. Thank you very much, Gerry, for joining me on this one.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
No sweat, and check back soon. We'll have a lot more coming up. Thank you very much for watching.